Hi, everyone. It's Lorinda. I thought I would create an audio version of these infographics so that if that's more your learning style, that it will be an option for you. So I'm going to start with the do's and don'ts checklist first. And I just want to let you know these are not hard and fast rules. Take anything I say with a grain of salt. Rules are made to be broken, especially when you have a neurodivergent brain. So number one is my favorite do, and it's to embrace the magic of 5 minutes. I know that it just seems so ridiculous. Like, oh, what can you get done in 5 minutes? You can actually get quite a bit done in 5 minutes. You can fold a load of laundry, you can unload the dishwasher and reload it. But that's not really the point. The point is not to finish a task in that 5 minutes. It's to get a quick win because we can almost always find 5 minutes during the day to do something. And again, it's not about finishing it. It's about consistently working on it and getting out of that perfectionist mindset that and that all or nothing thinking that if we can't do it all, we're not going to do it and we're going to wait until we do have time to do it. But progress is made with small, consistent effort. So I recommend getting a timer, setting it for 5 minutes, and just sticking to it. And it's easy to think, oh, well, I can go longer than 5 minutes. The risk with that is, especially with ADHD, is that you're going to slip into hyper focus mode. And next thing you know, an hour has gone by. You're exhausted, things need cleaning up, and then you don't want to have to do it again. You get that negative association with it, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. So that's why I encourage you to just stick with those 5 minutes in the beginning. You can build on that as time goes on, but just it's so powerful. 5 minutes done consistently makes a huge difference. Next one up is number two, letting go of perfection. This is this is what I am still very much working on. Give yourself permission to do things imperfectly. Give yourself permission to suck at it. Give yourself permission to do it crappy. The thing is that we are never, ever done with our to-do list. And clutter is going to keep coming into our homes because we are human and we generate trash and dishes and the mail keeps coming. So I expect at the end of every 5 minute session that you're not going to finish what you started. And that's okay. Real life means being distracted and being interrupted. Society puts so much pressure on us to be perfect, and it's wrong. 5 minutes makes such a difference. Again, it's not enough time to finish, but it's enough time to make meaningful progress and to create a positive association with decluttering. Number three on our list is to try it anyway, even if it sounds silly. A lot of the tips that I'm going to share sound so basic, and you think, what difference is this going to make? I urge you to just give it a try for a couple weeks and see what happens. It costs you nothing. Just think of it as an experiment, and you can go back to your old ways if it doesn't work out. And even if you've tried some of these things in the past and they haven't worked, you're a different person now than you even were just 2 hours ago. And now you have this group to support you. That accountability and community may be all it takes for it to stick this time. We're going to move on to the don'ts. Again, these are not rules. If they don't apply to you, just leave it at that and move on. I don't ever want anyone to think that I'm preaching at them. And if I ever come across that way, please call me out on it. Number one is buying containers. The reason I caution people not to buy containers in the beginning is because we're trying to get stuff out of our house, not bring more stuff in. And you could spend a fortune on these containers. And a lot of times we have stuff we can already use in our home. So I don't want anyone spending extra money unnecessarily. But if you have a situation where you need to protect your stuff from pests or environmental damage, then do it. So it's those decorative things, it's the shelving systems, all of that stuff. We can't possibly know what we're going to really need in the end until after we have decluttered all of the unnecessary stuff and take proper measurements and to buy something that's really going to fit the space and serve the purpose that you need it to. And then we can make it pretty. But we can't really do any of that until we get the stuff out of the way first. Number 2, I caution against starting with sentimental items because decluttering is like a muscle and it gets stronger with practice. It's much easier to start with the non-sentimental, non-emotional stuff first and build your confidence and your trust in your ability to make decluttering decisions. And also, as we go through all the non-sentimental stuff, we're going to be creating space so that when we get to the sentimental things, we'll have the ability to display it and incorporate it into our decor and make it part of your life rather than it hiding in a box in the basement. So if you come across any sentimental stuff during this process, my recommendation is to create space in a room to set them aside. That way that they're safe and they're out of the way and they don't get mixed up in the trash or the donate. And our final thing on the list is taking everything out. I don't recommend pulling everything out of the closet or digging through the clutter because it makes more of a mess, makes things harder and less motivating. So I recommend just starting with what you can see and read, and that will help you maintain control over the process and keeps you from feeling overwhelmed. So forget about the old advice that says it gets worse before it gets better, because it doesn't have to be that way, and it doesn't work for our brains a lot of the time. So that concludes our do's and don'ts checklist. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you found that helpful, and thank you for listening.